The cafetiere is one of the most common brew methods. In this video, I'm going to show you how we do the cafetiere at Unorthodox. First, you're going to need a cafetiere. I've got a single cafetiere here, which holds about 350 mils. And you're going to need the plunger as well, of course. That sort of comes with. And you're going to need ground coffee, quite coarsely ground. I don't know if you can see there. You might be able to, it might zoom in, it might not, but quite a coarse ground, kind of like sand, I would say, coarse sand. And then you're going to need freshly boiled water as well. Don't worry about leaving it to sit for a while. Don't worry about the kind of like core temperature of the water. If you just boil the kettle, all is good, because the water temperature is going to get to about 93, 94 degrees within the kettle. Once you pour it into your cafetiere, it's going to drop to around about 90, 91, 92 degrees. So it's going to be absolutely perfect brewing temperatures for coffee. So you're going to want 20 grams of coffee. I was going to say 15 grams, 15 to 20 grams of coffee per cup. So ideally, if you have a set of scales that has a timer inbuilt, that's all good. If you don't, grab your phone and get a timer started as soon as the water touches the coffee. So pop the coffee grounds in, like so. Give a wee shuggle just to make it quite even. And then we're going to add 300 mils of water to our 20 grams of coffee. It's quite a nice sound, that, when you know the coffee's coming. And when you pour the water in, start the timer. Now, pause the video here if you want to try and guess how long it is for a cafetiere brew. Now, if you've had a wee guess, then you will, well, we'll see if you're right or not, but the total brew time is 4 minutes normally. That's for the standard cafetiere, but that's going to be in another video. We're going to show you the standard cafetiere brew method. This is going to be the unorthodox cafetiere brew method, and what we're going to do is we're going to brew the cafetiere more like a coffee cupping. Now, what happens is, when water is added to coffee, you get air bubbles trapped within the coffee grounds. So what happens is the coffee cake floats to the top. So you'll see the separation between the water and the coffee grounds. Now, as the water permeates the coffee grounds, the coffee's going to start to sink. A little bit like Guinness in a glass, the coffee starts to sink. So this unorthodox brew method, what we're going to do is we're going to leave the coffee cake on the top for 4 minutes. And what that allows the coffee to do is just really kind of start infusing in the water and becoming fully saturated as we go. After the 4 minute mark, that's when we're going to push down the coffee cake into the water. Now, just to talk about the water temperature again there, so the ideal brewing temperature for coffee is between 72 and 93 degrees. So if you boil your kettle and then pour it out into another vessel, it'll automatically drop to around about 90 degrees, as I said before. Maybe 91, maybe 92. So already we're right at that top end of the range for brewing coffee, for extraction. So you don't need to worry about letting the water sit and cool down a bit, because you're already within that range. And what actually happens is sometimes people let the water cool down too much, add it to the coffee, and then you're below that 72 degrees extraction point, and actually get a very generic coffee. So you don't extract all of those compounds that you want, all those flavour compounds. So the coffee cake will sit on the top, and because it's quite a coarse ground, you've got little air bubbles inside, and that allows the coffee cake just to sit on top. With a very light roasted coffee, you get fewer of those air bubbles. And so with a lighter roasted coffee, you might get some grounds sinking towards the bottom. The coffee will be a little bit more dense. Now, also, if you have a finer grind, there will be less particles, or the particles be smaller, so they won't have the chance to trap as much air. So if you used espresso grind, for example, in a cafetiere, you'd see more of that, the coffee falling before the 4 minute mark. And this is one of the ways we really do test when cupping coffee in the kind of professional sense. This is the way we tell how good a roast is. If it's too light, then the coffee grounds will sink before the 4-minute mark, and that gives us an indication of, okay, maybe it's the coffee's potentially a little bit underdeveloped. The other way that can happen is if the coffee's very old and it's stale. So if you've got a coffee that you ground a year or two ago, I mean even a couple of months ago, and you add that into the cafetiere, it might not all come to the top, and that's because it's a little bit old. So we've hit the 4-minute mark. So now what people normally do is put the spoon in, give it a good stir. But actually, what I want you to do is just gently push the coffee grounds down with the back of a spoon, like so. And you don't need much at all, you know? Just that little pushing movement will allow the coffee grounds to sink down, and there we go. They're all in the coffee. And what that means is, if you're gentle with the coffee's going to be gentle with you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wait another 4 minutes. So that's 8 minutes in total. What that's going to do is that's going to bring the coffee to a very drinkable temperature, not cold by any means. In fact, still probably be too hot for most people to drink, but it'll give the absolute maximum extraction possible from the coffee. Now you can breathe in those aromas. Oh, I never told you what coffee it was. It's actually Wee Stoter, which I roasted yesterday. So it's a very, very fresh coffee, which is why all the coffee grounds sat to the top, because it was very, very fresh. I didn't mention before actually, when coffee has been ground a long time ago, it just allows that air to escape, and that's kind of how the coffee gets a little bit stale, and why the coffee grounds might sink. But yeah, this is Wee Stoter, so it was ground yesterday. It's a natural processed Brazilian coffee. So very kind of chocolatey, nutty, but kind of like an overriding booziness to the aromas as well, which is awesome. Now, should you brew coffee differently, different coffees differently? The answer would be no, essentially. For the cafetiere, you should always use this one brew method. Unless, of course, you're using the standard brew method, which we're doing in a different video. However, if you're brewing, say, a Brazilian coffee, you might want more of that body, might want more of that sweetness, more of the kind of the creaminess coming through, and that lends itself very well to the cafetiere. However, if you've got a Kenyan that's going to be very bright, very blueberry, or an Ethiopian where you're going to want to extract more of the kind of the fruity characters, more of the limey zest characters, then potentially you're going to want a cleaner brew method, which is going to take away a little bit more of that body, something with a filter paper, like a V60 or an AeroPress. Something like that might lend itself more to an African coffee. However, the cafetiere is the best brew method going because you're just leaving the coffee grounds to infuse in the water. I do a farmer's market once a month, and people always come up to me and they say, oh, I've just got a cafetiere. And I say to them, well, listen, cafetiere is the best brew method going because, like I said, you just leave the coffee grounds in the water to infuse. It's pretty foolproof, to be honest. Whereas an AeroPress, there are a lot of different methods, and you can get it very right, you can also get it very wrong. And same with the filter method as well. If you've got a drip filter, you have to consistently pour water on the coffee grounds in the correct fashion, otherwise you end up diluting the coffee quite a bit or over extracting. Whereas the cafetiere, it just does its thing. There's no under extraction. The only way you can over extract is by literally leaving it there for way too long. So that's why at the 8-minute mark, we're going to plunge down and we're going to pour straight away, and we're going to drink and enjoy it. So that's almost the 8-minute mark. What I'm going to do now, so you can put this on after you have pushed the coffee grounds down if you want, and it'll keep it a little bit warmer. I prefer to leave it off until the 8-minute mark, because what will happen then is it allows the coffee a little bit more time just to cool down and bring it to a drinkable temperature. And this is only my second coffee today, and it's about 3 p.m. I think. So I'm quite gonna look forward to this coffee, to be fair. So pop that on gently and press down. That'll bring all the grounds to the bottom of the cafetiere. Don't push down too hard. You're not trying to like squeeze out any extra flavours or anything like that. All that will do if you push down too hard will add a little bit extra bitterness potentially, a little bit of over extraction under pressure, but probably not. You're probably going to be okay. And then once you've pressed it down, I'm just going to pour into your cup. If you really want to accentuate the experience, you could always preheat your cup with some hot water as well. And that just adds to the experience. And if someone likes their coffee really, really extra hot and you're serving them in your home, then you can heat up the handle with a bit of hot water, and then it makes the whole kind of coffee experience a little bit warmer, if you want to put it that way. Just a wee trade secret there. So we're going to pour that out into the cup and enjoy. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. We're going to be doing more brew methods as we go, and feel free to check out the rest of our videos. Hit the like and subscribe buttons, of course, because everybody has to say that on YouTube, don't they? And I will catch you on the next video. See you then.